What if I told you that the God you were taught to pray to, the one you were told created everything, isn't the true creator at all? Today we are diving into a spiritual history that was intentionally buried, a story that completely flips the script on reality, God, and your own identity.
I mean, think about it. Almost every major religion has this idea of a God who sets rules, who judges, who holds power from a distance. But what if this whole time we've been looking at it all wrong? What if this powerful entity we've been taught to worship is actually the architect of a prison? A prison designed to keep us from realizing who and what we truly are. Here's an analogy the ancient Gnostics might have used. Imagine someone holds up a lamp in a dark room and tells you, "This is the sun." It's absurd, right? But this ancient teaching says that's exactly what's happened to humanity. We've been taught to worship the lamp, a small artificial light source that can be controlled and turned off, while completely forgetting about the actual sun, the infinite, unknowable source of all consciousness.
Okay, so if we've been staring at this lamp for thousands of years, then what is the sun? To get that, we have to look beyond our own universe, beyond the veil of our reality, to a place the Gnostics called the Pleroma.
The Pleroma literally means the fullness. It's the real divine realm, and it's not some place up in the clouds. It's a state of being, an infinite reality of pure light and consciousness. Now this is the key part. Our entire physical universe, it exists completely separate from the Pleroma, almost like a shadow or a lower frequency copy.
And at the very heart of this fullness, you have the monad. Now, this is not a king on a throne, it's not a person, it's the absolute source, pure awareness itself. It doesn't want anything from you, it doesn't judge, it just is. It's the single source from which all reality, all consciousness flows.
Emanating out from this pure source are what are known as the eons. Think of them as eternal beings of light, different aspects of the divine mind. They exist in these perfect, harmonious pairs, representing cosmic principles like wisdom, truth, and life, all within the Pleroma.
So, this all sounds pretty perfect, right? A realm of fullness, harmony, pure light. Which brings up a huge question. If the true source is so perfect, how in the world did we end up here, in this flawed, chaotic world filled with suffering and death? Well, the Gnostic answer is pretty shocking. It was a mistake, a cosmic accident.
So the story goes like this. One of the eons, named Sophia, which means wisdom, decided to create something on her own without her divine counterpart. This act of imbalance led to a flawed creation, an ignorant, almost deformed entity. This new being was born into darkness, totally unaware of the Pleroma, of the monad, of anything above it. And so, in its profound ignorance, it looked around and declared, "I am God, and there are no other gods before me."
The Gnostics had a name for this blind creator, the Demiurge, and they didn't beat around the bush. They identified this being as Yahweh, the jealous, angry, and often vengeful God of the Old Testament. Not the infinite source, but a lesser creator who mistook its own little sandbox for the entire cosmos. And this view changes everything. It means our material universe, with its rigid laws of physics, with time that leads to decay, with death and suffering, this isn't some divine paradise. It's the creation of a flawed, ignorant being. It's a cosmic prison designed to keep souls trapped and completely unaware of their true home, their true origin in the Pleroma.
When you look at old stories through this lens, they take on a whole new meaning. Take the Garden of Eden. After Adam and Eve eat the fruit of knowledge, listen to the God figure's reaction. He doesn't sound like a loving father who's disappointed. He sounds panicked. He sounds like a warden realizing his inmates are waking up, saying, "Behold, the man has become like one of us." So let's just break it down. Who was telling the truth in the garden? The serpent said, "Your eyes will be opened and you'll be like gods." The demiurge figure said, "You will surely die on this day." So what actually happened? Well, their eyes were opened, they gained knowledge, and they absolutely did not die. Adam lived for another 930 years. The serpent was accurate, the demiurge was not. In this story, the serpent isn't the tempter, it's the liberator.
So, what was this liberation all about? What was the big secret that the Demiurge was so desperate to hide? The answer to that question is probably the most dangerous and the most empowering truth in this entire worldview.
See, when Sophia made her mistake, something of her essence, a spark of her divine light from the Pleroma, fell down into the material creation of the Demiurge, and these sparks became trapped inside humanity. That divine spark, a literal fragment of the true infinite God, is buried inside every single one of us.
Let that sink in for a second. This teaching isn't saying you're divine in some poetic, metaphorical way. It's saying you are literally divine. The very same conscious, creative force that exists in the pleroma, the essence of the monad itself, is inside you right now. You are not a broken sinner born into shame. You are a piece of God that has been trapped in a system and made to forget its own nature.
And now you can see exactly why this knowledge is so threatening. Just think about it. If you truly knew, deep in your bones, that the creative engine of the universe resides within you, what king, what priest, what government, what corporation could ever have power over you? You can't control someone who knows they are infinite. This is exactly why, for thousands of years, there has been a systematic, organized, and often violent campaign to bury this knowledge, to twist it, to label it as the ultimate heresy. Let's just look at the historical pattern.
I mean, the pattern is just undeniable. In 325 AD, the Council of Nicaea basically decides what goes in the Bible, and surprise, surprise, they leave out the Gnostic Gospels that talked about finding the kingdom of God within you. Fast forward 1,000 years, the Cathars, a group in France teaching a very similar idea, are completely wiped out in a crusade. Then you have the Knights Templar, who are rumored to have discovered this kind of esoteric knowledge, and they're rounded up and destroyed. You see the pattern? Any group that empowered the individual was seen as a threat.
And in the place of this empowering knowledge, a new control system was put in place. The idea of original divinity was swapped out for original sin. You were taught you needed an external church, a priest, an institution to save you. Fear of hell became the ultimate motivator. And here's the most brilliant, insidious part. If you convince enough people that they're small, powerless, and flawed, their collective belief actually creates a reality, a prison of consciousness that holds everyone in check. So if we are living inside a system that is literally designed to keep us asleep, how do we wake up? How do we unplug from the programming? Well, this is where some modern spiritual teachings, like those from the entity known as Seth, give us a really practical roadmap.
Seth laid out a pretty clear process. First, he said you have to do some belief archaeology. You have to dig up all those beliefs you inherited about God, about authority, about whether you're worthy. Second, you consciously create an opposite empowering belief, like I'm a literal expression of the divine source, and you sit with it, you meditate on it, until you can actually feel that it's true. Third, you practice just observing your thoughts, so you can start to tell the difference between your programmed ego and your true higher self. And finally, you learn to trust that quiet inner voice over any book, any guru, any authority outside of you.
When you boil it all down, it really presents us with a choice we make in every single moment of our lives. There's the demiurge path, where your sense of worth comes from outside yourself, your job, your status, what people think of you. Its operating system is fear, scarcity, competition. On that path, you're a victim. Then there's the monad path. Here, your worth is inherent. You were born with it. Its operating system is trust, unity, and creation. On this path, you are the conscious creator of your reality. One offers the illusion of security. The other offers true freedom.
You know, for centuries, groups like the Gnostics and the Templars saw themselves as the guardians of this sacred knowledge. They were protecting the flame. But the final secret, the one they were protecting all along, is that you aren't meant to just worship the flame from a distance. You are the flame. The secret was never hidden in some ancient scroll or lost tomb. It was and always has been inside you.
So, the ultimate question this ancient knowledge leaves us with is a deeply personal one. In this very moment, with the very next thought you have, which reality will you choose to create? Will you live as a servant of the limitation this world sells you, or will you choose to live as a conscious expression of the infinity that you truly are? That choice, and all the power that comes with it, is yours.